Time now for UpFront Fridays, a look at the week in Wisconsin politics, and it's been a rare, quiet week. Minimal movement in the race for governor, and both the state and federal chambers are on recess. Matt Smith, political director from our sister station WISN in Milwaukee and co-host of UpFront, joining us once again. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Let's begin with the news that came out of Northeast Wisconsin at the beginning of the week. Wisconsin has 9 measles cases located in Oconto County. They're saying it's a single source, likely out-of-state travel infected. You spoke with Dr. Jonathan Tiffany. He was a professor and former CDC Vaccine Advisory Committee chair. Chris actually spoke with him as well this week, but you got a little bit more information on measles and vaccinations. What can you share?
So we really tried to look forward, right, coming out of these cases from Oconto County, and he said, listen, let's pump the brakes on a Wisconsin outbreak at the moment, because as you mentioned, these likely came from out of state. But in the same breath, he said, yeah, I mean, it's likely that we're going to see more cases across Wisconsin. We're going to see this expand. And the concern obviously now becomes, as everyone prepares to head back to school, you look at vaccination rates across Northeast Wisconsin, across the entire state. They're lowering, they're dwindling a bit compared to what we've seen in years past. So you're now seeing cities and you're seeing counties and school districts prepared for this what-if scenario. And Dr. Tiffany, he was actually part of this group, Cammie, in 2020, the Vaccine Advisory Committee, that said measles was eliminated in the U.S. And here we are 25 years later, and we're starting to see these cases pop up, the worst in more than 3 decades.
Let's revisit the race for Wisconsin governor. If I recall, no big announcements from anyone this week, correct?
Correct. Yes, we had a week off of the big announcements.
But you did speak with Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany, who is from the 7th District, has expressed a little bit of interest in this. What did you learn?
Yeah, we talked with him at the state fair, and this was incredibly fascinating. He revealed to us that he had a recent phone call with President Trump about this, about running for governor. And according to Tiffany, the president relayed to him somewhat of a warning that, listen, we want to keep the House majority. We want Republicans to maintain Congress. And it sounds like the president kind of made him think a little bit about, A, do you leave your seat in Congress to run for governor? Do you have the best chance to win? So that's something Congressman Tiffany is now contemplating as he's back home for August recess. And it appears, at least from our conversation, that his talk with the president has kind of made him think twice about whether he's going to do this. There's still a lot of speculation. He is still seriously considering this bid, but we're going to have to now see how this plays out over the next couple weeks, and if any other Republicans get in. So this Trump endorsement, this Trump factor on the Republican side is now taking shape on many different levels.
You would like to keep the Republicans in Washington rather than in the state governor's house, is what you're saying.
Yes, it sure sounds like it at this point.
Okay, so we also heard from a pair of lawmakers this week about town halls, and that has been an issue over the last several months, actually. Republican Representative Brian Stile got booed at his town hall, but he's going to keep holding these, is what he says.
Yeah, he is. It was wild in his town hall in the first congressional last week. I mean, he could barely get through a sentence for the hour plus that he stood up there, boos, jeering, yelling. A lot of pointed questions as we're seeing Democrats energized to show up to some of these Republican town halls and confront their lawmakers in their districts. Some Republicans in leadership say, listen, these are people coming in from outside. We don't know if that's the case. But Stile told us, Congressman Stile told us, he said, listen, we have to do these town halls. Unlike other Republicans in the state, he's the only one so far on this August recess to hold a big in-person town hall like this. And he says he's going to continue despite what he was faced with and what we've seen other Republicans faced with across the country in recent weeks.
You also spoke with Democratic Representative Gwen Moore. She talked about town halls as well. What did she share?
She did. So, and what was fascinating is Gwen Moore held her own town hall in Brian Stiles' district a short time before he did. What we're seeing is Democrats going into districts that they're targeting for the midterms. Mark Pocan went into Derek Van Orden's district and held a town hall. And she says, listen, these are not activists. These are people from Wisconsin showing up. They're angry. They're angry at the president. They're angry at Republicans. We'll have to see how all of this plays out in the midterms. There's clearly a long ways to go between now and next November. But Democrats are really hoping to bank on the president's big, beautiful bill and use that against Republicans. Whether that works or not, we're just going to have to see.
You also spoke with Representative Moore about what's happening in Texas. She's been in contact with some of those lawmakers.
She has. So she's talked with some of those Texas Democrats who have fled the state. It all rings a bell, Cammie, right? We remember back covering up in Green Bay in 2011 when Democrats here in the state did the same thing. But she said, listen, this needs to be taken seriously. We as in Democrats, she said they need to back the Texas Democrats who have left with financial donations, with support, because now they're under the threat, at least the threat from the Texas governor, of arrest, the threat of losing their seats when they return. Their pay has been suspended. So this has really become a national issue as we see this redistricting battle play out. And another part of the conversation you're going to hear Sunday is what Democrats in Wisconsin attempted to do through the courts, looking to redistrict ahead of the midterms. And I asked her if that's a fair comparison, what Democrats here were doing, what was happening in Texas. Her answer is really revealing in how Democrats are separating the two, as now we're seeing this redistricting battle potentially play out in numerous states across the country ahead of next November.
Sounds like some thoughtful conversations this week. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you joining us today.
Have a good weekend.
You can see UpFront this and every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. right here.